Hi and welcome to another video here on my channel Morbid History, where we have historic true crime cases, some mysteries, spooky stories. But today we're going into part 3 of the Weird Strange Deaths Iceberg historical version. This time we're only going through one tier, and that is tier 5. And let's get straight on into tier 5 of the Weird Deaths Iceberg. We start tier 5 with one of those names again that is hard to pronounce. Al-Mustasim. He was a caliph or a ruler of Iraq in the 1200s. In 1258 he was captured in, I think, Baghdad, and was ordered to be executed, as one would be. But the thing was, they had this idea that, quote-unquote, the earth would be offended by being touched by royal blood. So they came up with the genius idea to roll Al-Mustasim into a carpet and then just run him over and over again with some horses. Problem solved. Next on our little list here we have Tycho Brahe, who was a Danish astronomer. In 1601, Mr. Brahe attended a fancy banquet, and it was a very fancy affair indeed. Was many hours long, as they usually were. He sat down the entire time because he found it to be rude to answer the call of nature, which led to him then politely dying 11 days later by bladder failure. Hydration break! Please, my loves, keep hydrated. So good for you to drink some water. Please.
Drink water, but also pee.
Oh.
This has been a public announcement.
Third on our list we have Mary Reeser, also known as the Cinder Lady. She is a very well-known name when it comes to the whole mystery of spontaneous human combustion. Either way, she was found in 1951 inside of her apartment, mostly a big pile of ashes in the chair, or the remains of the chair that she had been sitting in. The room was unaffected by the fire, as well as her left foot, which was also still wearing its slipper. Promptly moving on, now we have another daredevil on our hands. Franz Reichelt. He was a tailor who also fancied himself somewhat of an inventor of sorts. So much that he was also known as the Flying Tailor. Either way, he invented himself a parachute suit. That's actually very catchy. A parachute suit. He made one. And he insisted for a very long time to get permission to jump off the Eiffel Tower to test his parachute suit. Franz was not one to be denied, and finally, in 1912, he did get permission. Only that he wouldn't do it himself, he would use a dummy. But it was hard to tell him no once he was up there. He insisted once again. He liked to insist, he demanded it, that he would be the one jumping off the Eiffel Tower with his parachute suit. We have a video of that. It's very grainy. I'll show it. Sadly, he did get what he wanted, and he jumped off the Eiffel Tower in his little suit straight into the cancellation of his life subscription. Then we have number 5 on tier 5. And there we have Antifanes. I'm gonna say Antifanes. I'm not even gonna try. Antifanes. And he lived circa 300 BC. And there's like no information almost. We don't have a picture, we don't have anything, but he was a Greek comedic writer, and he met his demise by being struck by a pear. Yeah, just being struck by a pear. And let me just go back to part 2. How small or large were these hecking pears during the ancient times? Is it small enough to accidentally choke a person, or like big enough to strike someone quite dead? My head hurts. And then we jump to number 6. And that is John Baptiste Lully. He was an Italian-French composer in the 1600s. And in 1687, whilst conducting a musical performance in honor of King Louis' successful recovery from some surgery, he managed to strike his own foot very, 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 very hard with his conducting staff. Somehow. Either way, this brought on a severe infection onto his poor foot. The doctors advised that he would need to amputate, or else the infection would get worse. But Baptiste was adamant that they did not amputate his foot, because then he would never be able to dance again. Which he never got to do anyway, because it spread, he got gangrene, and was shoved off this mortal coil. Listen to doctors, you people. In number 7, we have a name that would fit a cat. Probably one of those that look very angry and has a mustache, you know. Yeah, those kinds of cats. But this was a man. He was an American politician and founding father. Even with these credentials, he wasn't the smartest, the best in judgments. He had a blockage in his urethra, and he just wanted that fixed as soon as possible. So he went ahead and borrowed a whalebone from his wife's corset and used that to pick inside of his blocked urethra. This caused internal damage, which then caused infection, and then, of course, the regular old cancellation. Cool. At number 8, we have Clement Vallandigham, and he was an American lawyer. And he moved on to greener pastures by accidentally shooting himself in the stomach while trying to prove his client's innocence, using the gun and trying to prove that the victim had actually accidentally shot himself, and Clement tried to prove it and promptly proved it by doing the exact same thing and moving on. the good thing is that the defendant got released and he proved his point. So yay! He did not die in vain. In number 9 we have Sir Thomas Urquhart. Either way, he was a Scottish aristocrat that laughed himself to death in 1660 when he heard that Charles II was coming back on the throne. I have no idea why that was so much fun, but I'm really glad that we got at least one death by laughter. And the last person on our little list here, and for this episode, in number 10, is a man called
Nicholas
Comper. He was an English aviator. Another one of those daredevils, cool guys. But he was a bit of a jokester. Maybe a little bit too much of a jokester. No, not a maybe. He was too much of a jokester. He was out and about. He had been thrown out of a bar, I think, for trying to light fireworks inside. So we went outside to try and light fireworks. And a passerby asked him what he was doing. And Nicholas Comper joked that he was part of the IRA and that he was there to blow up the town hall. The passerby got so spooked that he somehow kicked or pushed or whatever poor Comper to the ground so hard that he hit his head and later passed into cancellation from Swedish hemorrhage of brain blood. Yes. Thanks so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. It helps the algorithm and it helps me spreading my channel. Everything of those things are free for you, but helps me so freaking much. So I thank you from the bottom of my freaking heart. Thanks. I have 2 more of the Weird Deaths historical version icebergs to do, and then I'm also planning not Scandinavian, Swedish folklore iceberg, and I'm gonna do a whole series on the history of executions, the most disturbing ones through history and all that. And of course I'll be back with the usual folklore videos and historic true crime. Bye-bye! Giant thanks to all my lovely patrons, and check down below for ways to support my channel. Thanks!